These are fresh pigs we get twice a week delivered. We'll more than likely go through all of these by Sunday. We're starting with the pig down here because this is the oldest pig, a couple days old, but these are all newer. They were brought today. So now we're just gonna take this pig, get it up on the table.
There's several parts of the country that lay claim to being the birthplace of whole hog barbecue. Eastern North Carolina historically has been whole hog, wood fired.
So now the only thing that'll happen is we'll put a little water on the skin. That's just to help the salt adhere to it. And then once that happens, that is the only thing that'll be applied to this animal until it's finished and carried inside tomorrow, roughly 18 hours from now. The way I look at it, I'm the fourth generation of my family that's been doing this right here. Our evolution has come this far out of the ground. Because once upon a time they were cooking in the ground. But there again, it's not broke, don't fix it. That's whole hog in its purest form. So this is basically the engine. All the meats that are served at our restaurant come out of here. Everything we do is fresh, everything is cooked over wood. And you know, in my opinion, barbecue in its truest form is that. There's 6 whole hog cookers, and we can actually cook 2 at a time. So each grill has the potential of cooking 2 hogs at a time. And so, you know, that's 12 pigs at one time we could cook if we had to.
First staff's going to be in anywhere between 5:30 and 6:30 as far as the ribs, chicken, turkey, wings, those type of things are going to go on just as soon as we can get a heat source going.
This is 3 cases of chicken, and we've got it sitting in a brine, which is just salt and sugar. We're gonna take this out of the brine, which only sits in here 24 hours at the most. So Adoneus is seasoning the chicken. This is Sam Jones rub potion. Same one we sell up front in the smaller containers. This rub goes on the chicken, the turkey, and the ribs. Only this. So here we have our turkey breasts. They usually come 2 to 3 in a bag. These will also be ready for tomorrow's service. We try to have new, fresh meat seasoned every evening to start fresh the next morning. These are pork ribs, pork spare ribs. He's cutting the silver skin and the fat cap off of the back so that it'll cook evenly. And then again, he's gonna start to season. Same Sam Jones rub potion. Gonna load some chickens, 2 pieces, make a whole chicken. So 1, 2, 3. I try to keep all the raw food together where it's not dripping on anything finished. In about 45 minutes, I'll come back out and I'll check the color of the turkeys and more than likely just wrap them up. We don't want this color to get too dark, again, for presentation. And we also don't want the outside to cook faster than the inside.
What we're about to do now is check this hog. And so at this point, the meat's done. And I mean, I know that from looking at it because I've been doing it my whole life. The fact that the ribs and the backbone are starting to separate from each other is a telltale sign. You see how much shrinkage there is on that shank? So when you started cooking, that meat was actually hanging over that shank a little bit. It's just those visuals that the longer you do something, it's like anything else. You stop reading the instructions. And so what'll happen now is always the very last thing we do. We'll take our heat shield out, and at that point we'll apply direct heat to this animal. It will allow us to blister the skin on it. That grill's kind of plateaued based on stirring, and it's needing about another 75 degrees. So I'm gonna start firing it in increments and bringing it up slow because you don't want it to spike on you.
The crisping of the skin, there's a talent to that. You can cook a whole hog and your hog be fine and your skin be crap. It being a leathery, rubbery, where it did not get direct heat applied to it, or where you tried to blister it and overdid it or underdone it. That's the difference between it being you know, something you could patch a car tire with, and something as tasty as that natural chip.
This is the part where you can really mess it up. Getting that skin parched, crispy, but not scorched. At this point, the meat is done. All we're doing now is blistering the skin. We blister the skin and chop it into pork. It's probably one of the things that sets my family style apart from a lot of the other barbecue places.
So my grandfather opened Skylight Inn in the summer of 1947. The front dining room is the original building. It was an octagonally shaped building. Made absolutely no sense at all. I have no idea why you would do that, but literally that what started in a hole in the ground, because that pit that my granddaddy learned how to cook hogs on, to now has blossomed to what we've been able to do. And I say we because even though it bears my name, you know, there's so many names that stand behind them letters right there that say Sam Jones.
When we designed these, we did these grates with these 1/2-inch bars on 6-inch centers. And what it does is, you know, most of the time when you see a grill, you see expanded metal. And you can get the skin to crisp on it, but it's not gonna be as thick. It's almost like the skin needs somewhere to expand to and do its natural thing. And so what'll happen is you'll actually see that skin start to parch and blossom almost and blow if it's your blowing glass or something.
Those grills that I was able to help design, and they're made right here in North Carolina, and I see them go all over the country, and people are buying them to cook whole hogs on. They could probably find a different idea to go about cooking a whole hog, but they're buying that particular grill to duplicate what we do.
Like the skin's doing right, I'll add a little bit to it, and then she and I, after literally like 3 or 4 minutes, put that shield back in, let it stay hot, and then it'll finish doing its thing.
So Lindsay she's a boss. She can cook a hog just as good as I can. I guarantee you she will outwork me and you 3 guys in that pit house this afternoon to the point that you'd have your tongue hanging out.
I'm the first female pitmaster for Sam Jones. I hold that title pretty proudly, trying to keep up, and I love it out here. When I started here, I started in prep. The line cook in me started hearing the ticket machine go off and seeing that they would get backed up and they would get busy and they would need an extra set of hands. The line cook mentality said, hey, train me on the line too, I can come help whenever. I asked if I could come outside. They took a chance on me, and as of Sunday 2 days ago, I've been out here a year now.
So she's about to quarter this up and pan it up, skin up. And what that'll do is just help preserve the skin as it sits on the pit. Where right now it's actually acting as a bowl. You know, so all the renderings of the fat in the animal are sitting in that skin. By placing it in the pan, turning the skin upright, just leaving it on the pit, it allows that skin to continue to crisp a little bit. As long as that grill stays hot. As soon as we finish the process, it will begin to get broken down. What she's doing now is removing the inedibles, and then the skin will get chopped very fine. You get a little crunch in the bite. Everything's blended in together.
I have no idea the origin of why my family's always done that, because I don't know of any other barbecue place that I've ever been to that chops the skin in the meat like that. You know, it changes the dynamic of the bite, the texture, you know, and it being that perfect balanced bite.
It's been several times, you know, people ask, but I remember one time in particular, this guy comes in, he's like, Mr. Jones, he was like, you know, when that board started, was it already concaved or was it flat? He was like, no, it's flat. You know, he said, normally we'll use one a year. And he goes, well, somebody's eating a lot of wood, hasn't he? And he goes, well, and you got to figure my dad now. He's not ever at a loss for words, has a little flair for the dramatic. And he said, well, our wood chips are better than a lot of people's barbecue.
Probably more to a dressing than I would a sauce, because, you know, so many times when people think sauce, they're thinking thick, masking, and I think it enhances the actual natural flavor of the pork. I heard my dad say so many times, you know, you could put enough sauce on a napkin to get it down if you had to, but you don't spend 18 hours cooking hogs to mask it or, you know, to hide it in a particular sauce. You know, you want to taste all that time and energy and wood and fire and smoke that went into making that animal taste what barbecue is supposed to taste like.
Aside from the time and the color, you almost start to connect to your food. You almost start to feel your food. Feel as in time-wise when it could be done. I feel like the more I've learned the process of how this works, I feel like I'm feeding my own family, and that's the care I take in it. That's the pride that I take in it. I want the same reaction. I want these people to have a good experience here. And when they compliment it, I know that it's because the knowledge that I have of food, the knowledge that I have of these people's taste buds, I know what tastes good. I know what they want. I know what they want to see. We eat with our eyes first. The ribs have been on for about 45 minutes. So now we'll take them out when they're around this color, because now as we wrap them, we're trying to achieve, in a sense, staying this color underneath the barbecue sauce. And we wrap up the turkey for the same reason. We don't need any more color on it, but we want it to stay juicy and almost based in its own juices. Now at the same time, the chickens are probably done. So I'm gonna temp these. These will now come off and go in the restaurant for service.
So this is what we refer to as the window. Some would call it the pass, but basically this is where the kitchen line comes to a T. We consider this the last line of defense as far as, I always say, when human hands are involved, mistakes will get made. And so hopefully this is the last line of defense to make sure the orders are correct, everything looks good, there's nothing out of place to the table. As you can see, we're in full swing here of, it's about 20 minutes to 1 on a Tuesday, and it's actually a good lunch crowd to be early in a week like this. Can we get y'all anything?
Oh, I think we're good.
Good deal. Well, thank y'all for stopping by.
You know, one, I never thought there'd be a Sam Jones barbecue. Daggone sure never thought there'd be one here in the capital city. I think anybody in the restaurant business wants their customers to leave with a pleasant experience. We try to stay as plain Jane, I guess, as possible. You know, that smokehouse screams tradition. And it's not just a yarn we spend. You know, we spend a pile of money on firewood. You know, it's not out there in the yard just for a picture's sake. It would probably blow people's minds to know what we spend on firewood for the 3 restaurants, because we are preserving what, in my opinion, is a heritage, a legacy that's been passed down through my family, but it's a tradition of our entire region. And as time goes on, there's fewer and fewer places that are bearing the torch. You know, there again, that's another thing I'm humbled by, is that we're still able to bring a traditional Eastern North Carolina barbecue meal to a table, a nicer table than it used to be. It won't ever be a white tablecloth in my establishment, but I want people to take away tradition, hospitality, and so I hope that that's what the takeaway is, you know, man, that was great, and the next time I have somebody in town that's not from town, this is where I want to bring them.